killing God's plan for your life. Now, when you hear the word authentic, what do you think of when you hear that word? Most of us think of, well, me being the most true version of myself, me showing up as my full self to a space, or me not restraining or restricting any piece of myself, me keeping it real. That's not the authenticity I'm talking about. In fact, you don't need to be authentic in that way. That type of authenticity, oh, just be yourself, is overrated. No one wants an authentic doctor. You never want your doctor to come in and say, you know what? I'm not really feeling surgery today. That's not really my vibe. What do you think about this procedure? No. You want a professional. So authenticity in that definition is quite overrated. I'm talking about a different authenticity. The authenticity that I'm talking about is you being true to what God has shown you and put in your spirit, despite what it looks like, despite how fearful it makes you, despite if it makes you anxious, despite if it makes sense. When I work with lots of my clients, I ask them one question, and that is, if you could not fail and you had clothes on your back, food on your table, and a roof over your head, guaranteed, what would you do? Or what problem would you solve in the world if you had to do it for every single day of your life, forever? What would you do? If you knew you could not fail and all your needs were met, what problem would you solve in the world every single day, even if you never got paid for it? What would you do? And here's what usually happens. There's an initial thought, and then immediately our logic, our reasoning, our rationale start to kick in. And the answer that would be utterly ridiculous is put aside, because that can't possibly be a good answer. And lots of times when it comes to you doing actually what God has called you to do in this life, it's going to be beyond anything that makes sense to you, things that are rational to you, things that are logical to you. And I literally see this like this like this battle going on in people's minds as they're trying to answer this question, because what they want to say doesn't make sense, or what they want to say they're afraid to say, because if they admit it they might feel silly after saying it. But that's the thing that most often is what you need to be doing. We do not want to be outcome-based visionaries. We want to be input-based visionaries, meaning we don't make decisions on the outcomes that we might receive. We make decisions on the inputs that we know we're supposed to make. That is a much more satisfying, happy life. Yes, I do believe in Jesus Christ, Donovan. Um, what is this live about? This live is about you being authentic, not in the way of you just being real or you just being yourself, you being authentic as in not quenching or restricting yourself from the things God has placed in your heart to do in the world, but might not make sense to you, might not add up of how financially this would even be possible, might not add up of why this would even be a good idea. Gifts that you don't even think that you have that you feel like you would need to utilize in order to make it happen. And when I ask people, hey, make sure that you're authentic when answering the question, what would you do every single day of your life if all your needs were met, even if you never got paid for it? Say the thing that without any type of judgment, any preconceived feeling like this is not a good answer. And that usually is the thing that's closer to home base of what you need to be doing than anything else you could come up with. Now, here's the second caveat I want to make before I hop off here real quick. You do not, the answer that you give to that question does not mean that's what you have to do for a living. I struggled with this for a while, because lots of times we say, oh, I can't do that because I can't do that for a living. And that wasn't in the question. I didn't say you had to do it for a living. But what would you do? You can do both and. It does not have to be an either or in your life. And who knows? God may bless you and you can do that thing for a living, but you will never know unless you start. So I ask you this question. Anybody who wants to answer, this for your life, you're trying to figure out what to do, trying to figure out what you need to contribute to society, trying to figure out, what am I supposed to be doing with my life? What would you do every single day if you had all your needs met, food on your table, clothes on your back, roof over your head, even if you never got paid for it? What would that be? And be authentic, not necessarily just saying, oh, I just need to be me. No, be authentic with, what has God put in your spirit to do? A problem that you see in the world that you believe has to be solved. Put it in the comments if you want to answer live, or if you're watching this on replay. But lots of times we feel like we're being our real selves when we're actually not, because we're holding back on what God has placed in our spirit. And this was a battle I went through lots of times. Lots of times I would try to rationalize or remix what I felt called to do so that it would make more sense when I would tell people, or so I wouldn't look silly or sound silly either to others or to myself. But that's not really being authentic. That's not really honoring the call that God put on your life. That's not really trusting and having faith in what he can do if you allow him to use you and obey. So that's what I want to leave with you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.